Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and today we're going to be discussing the Ostrogoths. So these are going to be, again, another one of the major subdivisions of the migrating Gothic people who had previously settled north of the Black Sea. So the Goths themselves were more tied to smaller individual tribes and families rather than these large, often cumbersome titles that historians and various other people like to apply to them. Often these forms of identification are highly misleading, and they do a poor job of representing the fluidity of these migrating tribal peoples at this time, and especially the way they would constantly mix. But just for the sake of clarity, people have retroactively painted these guys with a broad brush, and often, painting that brush even further back than it should be applied. Irregardless, we're going to go over a little bit of this time period. So the early history of these people was somewhat similar to that of the Visigoths, because both the Austro and the Visigoths were both, Gothic people. So I would refer you to that previous video for the early history that we talked about. I'm basically going to pick off from the point in time where the invasion of the Huns is going to force some of the Ostrogothic tribes to flee to the Balkans, whereas the remaining Ostrogothic people are going to stay behind and fight. However, they're going to be, staying north of the Danube, and doing so is going to put them at risk from the Huns, and they're going to eventually be conquered and become vassal kingdoms and forced to fight for Attila. These Ostrogoths are then going to be showing up in places like the Battle of Chalons, or as some of you may know, the Battle of Cadolwanian Fields, where they are actually going to fight with the Huns as vassals, along with a whole bunch of other forces. And this group of not really willing participants on the side of the Huns are going to be fighting against a combined Roman and Gothic force. The Romans are going to have a bunch of different allies who are sort of an alliance of conveniency, and it's going to be interesting because the Romans are going to be fielding basically Visigothic units fighting against Ostrogothic units. So you see how these migrating people are going to end up on two different sides of this major war. They're just torn apart, so a lot of chaos in this period. But eventually, when Attila the Hun does die, chaos is going to ensue, and it's really hard to keep his empire together, particularly with all these satraps are now going to be trying to fight for their independence. And so the Ostrogoths north of the Danube are going to actually help break the power of the Hunnic forces led by Attila's sons, and they're going to move south and settle in Pannonia. From this position, they're going to be in an odd kind of relationship with the Roman Empire, and it's going to be rather volatile. So sometimes this is going to be, taking place under the banner of peace, and then other times the banner of war. Now, by around 480 AD, a power struggle is going to result, and eventually the Roman Emperor Zeno is going to have to cede parts of Moesia and Dacia to the Goths. And then as this power play continues, the Gothic leader Theodoric the Great is actually going to be named Magister Militum. Emperor Zeno does not quite know how to deal with this powerful leader, and so what he tries to do is knock two birds out with one stone, and what he decides to do is try and direct Theodoric to the west, and he wants Theodoric to head west and to help the emperor defeat the kingdom in Italy. Now, at this point in time, Rome has already been sacked by Alaric more than about 70 years ago, and the Western Roman Empire never truly recovered from this. Instead, it had a bunch of inconsequential puppet leaders, you could say, who were put on the throne. The last of these is going to be Romulus Augustulus, and he's going to be deposed in 476 by a Germanic Magister Militum named Ottokar, and Ottokar is going to declare himself king, and at this point, he's going to be in control of Italy. And this is exactly who the Eastern Roman Empire is not very happy with. They are not happy with this non-Roman leader, and they're going to send over Theodoric. Theodoric is then going to wage war with the he's going to bring his Ostrogoths, and they're going to wage war against this Ottokar and his people in Italy. It's going to be a rather protracted battle with a lot of back and forth, and finally they're going to be able to take control and emerge victorious by about 493. They're then going to hold control of a rather substantial part of the former Western Roman Empire. However, down the road in the future, the powers at Byzantium are actually going to end up sending the famous general Belisarius to wrestle control back from the Ostrogoths in Italy. And it's not going to be entirely successful. It's going to have sort of mixed success, and you have a whole bunch of stuff that I won't go into right now. But basically, by 562, the Ostrogothic kingdom is basically going to be extinguished, and its people are going to be dispersed. They're later going to be succeeded by the Lombards, who themselves are going to be ruling for about 200 years. I won't go over the exact military makeup of the Ostrogoths. I would refer you to the Visigoths. And by this point in time, you guys should be all too familiar with how the sort of tradition of the Germanic warfare should go. Refer to any number of other videos I've done for more information on that. Anyways, this is going to be a quick view of the Ostrogoths. Hope to see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Peace out.